أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ونبدأ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكرا له على توفيقه وامتنانه شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله توفيقا لشأنه وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله الداعي إلى رضوانه وبعد وسلم عليكم يا أحبتي السلام وأتحفكم برحمته السلام نحمد الله الذي لا يقال متى كان ولا أين كان كون الأكوان ودبر الزمان علم ما كان وما هو كائن وما سيكون ومن لم يكن لو كان كيف كان يكون. Inshallah, today we'll be talking on one of the most beautiful topics for Yawm al-Jum'ah, which is also Yawm al-Jum'ah. Inshallah, we'll be talking on Friday congregational prayers, its laws and the most rewarding things to do on its day. Like when it's Friday, what are the most beloved things to do? So first of all, let's talk about the meaning. Ta'rifuhu. He said, Salat al-Jum'ah هي صلاة تقام في كل الجمعة في وقت الظهر بدلا له. He said صلاة الجمعة is every prayer you observe at every Zuhri time. You observe it when it is the time for Zuhri on Fridays. Every Friday during the time of Zuhur you observe Salatul Jum'ah in exchange for it, replacement for it. أو هي من الاجتماعات أو أعياد الصغرى التي شرعها الله تعالى. Or you can call it little Eid that, or little gatherings that Allah has made compulsory on we Muslim. على المسلمين لتعميق المحبة, so that we can love each other. You know, when it is Salah period now, you see your loved ones, you see your family that you are unable to see. But when it is Jum'ah, that happens to be the Salah you are having weekly, the weekly Salah as we call it, you be able to see your friends and neighbors every week. So at least it will increase the love between you people. وهي عبارة عن خطبتين وركعتين بدلا من صلاة الظهر في كل يوم الجمعة. Or another definition, it consists of 2 rak'ah and 2 khutbah in exchange for Salat al-Dhuhr. That means once you can observe Salat al-Jum'ah, Salat al-Dhuhr becomes not really compulsory, not needed anymore. You use it in replacement for your Salat al-Dhuhr. Then, على من تجب الجمعة ومن لا يجب. Who is supposed to observe Salat al-Jum'ah? Who is Jum'ah compulsory on? And who is it not compulsory on? He said, يجب الجمعة على كل ذكر بلغ سن التكليف. He said, Jum'ah is compulsory on every individual that has attained the age of maturity. Every Muslim male that have attained the age of maturity, Muslim man, as I said, a Muslim, aqilan, it should be somebody that is normal, a sensible person, ma'asihah, and it should be healthy. It shouldn't be a sick person. That Jum'ah is not compulsory for sick people. He said, وَلَا يَجِبْ عَلَى الْمَرْأَةِ. And among the people that Jum'ah is not compulsory for, it's not compulsory on women. It's not compulsory on women. And if a woman must come to Jum'ah, Prophet ﷺ says, لا تخرجن إلا تلفا. That don't come out except telefa. That means you should come, even if you must come out, you should come out without perf. You shouldn't put on perfume when coming out. These are among the laws that guides maybe making, if a woman must come to Jum'ah, she must not put on perfume or any type of scent. And Jum'ah is not also compulsory on Sabi. It's not compulsory on children. Wal Marid is not compulsory on sick people. Wal Musafir, and also on travelers. It's not compulsory for travelers. So the travelers can observe Zuhur. But some scholars said, وَفِي الْمُسَافِرِ اخْتَلَفَ فِيهُ الْعُلَمَاء. A lot of scholars have some differences, like arguments, in that aspect when it comes to the part of traveler. لكن الراجح أنها لا تجب عليهم، لكن إذا أمكن لهم الصلاة الجمعة فليصليها إذا حان وقتها. He said the most authentic idea among all of them is that it is not really compulsory on them, but if they should be up to the number of people that are supposed to observe Jum'ah and it is time for Zuhur, that on Friday it is time for Dhuhr, so they can observe their Jum'ah. The prophets, during the time of Umar, when Umar was the president of the Amirul Mu'minin, when he was the leader of the believers, there was a time they asked him that, we travelers, are we to pray Jum'ah? Is it composing on us? And he told them, إِذَا حَانَ الصَّلَاةِ إِذَا حَانَ الْوَقْتِ فَجَمِّعُوا. When it is time, you should gather, that make your Jum'ah. So it is permissible if you are able, maybe if you are traveling in group, you are Muslims and you are up to the amount of making Jum'ah, then you can go ahead. So, the Hukum Salatul Jum'ah. Salatul Jum'ah is not maybe something like you can say it is sunnah, so it's not compulsory on me. I can leave it and just pray Zuhr. No, it is fardu ayn. It is compulsory just the way you have Salatul Dhuhr. It is as compulsory as Salatul Dhuhr. So if you don't do it, you are having sin for it. And إذا اجتمع العيد والجمعة, if Salatul Eid and Jum'ah should happen to fall on the same day, you should observe the Salatul Eid. Then that's when the Salatul Jum'ah becomes, that's when you have choice. If you feel like you can observe the Jum'ah, and if not, you can just observe Salatul Dhuhr. But it's more advisable you observe the Jum'ah, because in the hadith that was narrated by Iyas bin Abi Ramla al-Shami, he said, قال شهدت معاوية زيد بن الأرقم. He said, شهدت معاوية زيد بن الأرقم. شهدت معاوية سأل زيد بن الأرقم, that he witnessed Muawiyah, this Sheikh Abi Ramla, he's saying that Ibn Abi Ramla, he's saying that he witnessed Muawiyah questioning Zayd bin al-Arqam, telling him that Shahidta ma Rasulullah Eidain Ijtama. He said, you witnessed to the Prophet that when on Friday it falls to be Eid and also having Yawm al-Jum'ah. He said, Qala na'am. Then how did he do it? Qala Salla al-Eid awwal nahar. He observed Eid first when it was time for Eid. Thumma rakhsa fil Jum'ah. Then he didn't make the Jum'ah compulsory. فَقَالَ مَنْ شَاءَ أَنْ يُجَمِّعْ فَلْيُجَمِّعْ. He said, anyone who wished to join them should go ahead with them. Then let's move to the مَا يُسْتَحَبُّ فِي يَوْمِ الْجُمْعَةِ. What is advisable, what is most rewarding for you to do on Fridays. The first one, he said, قِرَاءَةُ سُورَةُ الْكَهْفِ, that you should recite Surah Al-Kahf فيه قوله, and the proof for that is the hadith that says من قرأ سورة الكهف في يوم الجمعة أضاء له من نور ما بين الجمعتين, that anyone who recites Surah Al-Kahf on Fridays, Allah will put light on him. He will have a special light from that Friday to the following Friday. Just imagine this kind of massive reward. And this hadith was narrated by Hakim. Then number two, the second most rewarding thing that is advisable for us to do on Fridays, إكثار من الصلاة على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said you should do a lot of salawat on the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم on Fridays. On Friday morning, you can just sit down and start making a lot of salawat on the Prophet. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The complete salat to the Ibrahimiyya to the ending. So it's advisable to do a lot of it. Because an hadith came from Abi Mas'ud al-Ansari radiyallahu anhu, that Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أكثروا على الصلاة في يوم الجمعة فإنه ليس أحد يصلي علي يوم الجمعة إلا عرضت علي صلاته. That we should make a lot of salawat upon him on Fridays. We should make a lot of salawat upon him on Fridays, that there is no how we are going to do any salawat on him, that you saying Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa sallim, except it's going to get to him, that he will surely receive it. And just imagine how great it is, as if you are conversating with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you sending him something and he's receiving it. That's a great pleasure for us. Rawahu al-Hakim, narrated by Hakim. This hadith was narrated by Hakim. The other beautiful thing, he said, تزيين الملابس خصوصا أبيض. He said you should put on good clothes, one of your best clothes. أحسن الملابس أحسن الثياب. You should put on the best clothes you are having. خصوصا, most especially white. Prophet advised us to put on white. Say البسوا الأبيض وكفنوا به موتاكم. You should put on white and you should use it to bury the dead. That's to show you the honor it gives to white clothes. So it's preferable used white clothes to observe your Jum'ah. That's just part of just preference actually, just for the sunnatic sake. You can put on other best clothes you have. Then the next one is al-ittisal wa tatyib. It's very rewarding to use perf, to take ritual bath, that's the Jum'ah bath, and you use perfume. Al-mashi ila al-masjid is more rewarding when you walk to the masjid. You should walk to the mosque. This is more rewarding. The hadith says you have, for each step you take, you are having a massive reward for it. Then you should always go to the mosque very early. Adhihab ila al-masjid mubakkiran. You should go to the mosque very early. وجاء أن من أتى مبكرا أول من دخل مجيء الإمام. He said anyone that, another hadith came that when you come at the first time, if you should come early at the first hour, or you happen to be the first person to come before the khutbah, the angels used to be at the doorstep before the khutbah. So when it's time for khutbah, they will come out to listen to the khutbah themselves. They will sit down to listen to the khutbah. So he said the first person to enter the masjid, Allah is going to give that person a reward as massive as a camel. Then the second person as huge as a cow. The third person as huge as kabsh, that's ram or goat. Then the fourth person something like chicken. The fifth person will be given a reward like an egg. So just imagine this reward, just as if you are doing Quran competition. When they'll give you reward, the first will have the higher till the fifth position. So this is just how it is. So this to show the reward you are having when you come to the mosque very early. But if inadvertently maybe some issues happens and you happen to come to the mosque late, if you should miss the first rak'ah and you meet the second ruku', that's the second rak'ah, then you should observe one rak'ah to complete the Jum'ah. So you can just observe two rak'ah, you just complete it with one rak'ah, then your Jum'ah is intact. But if you should miss the two ruku' and you miss, that means you've automatically missed the two rak'ah, then you just have to pray the Salatul Zuhr. You just have to complete it as Salatul Zuhr. Then it is also very rewarding when you come to the mosque very early. You should observe two sunnah rak'atain. The hadith says, إذا جاء أحدكم يوم الجمعة والإمام يخطب فليركع ركعتين وليتجوز فيهما. You should, once you come to the mosque, before you sit down, you should observe two rak'ah in brevity, two nafila. It's called nafil, popularly known as nafila. You observe two nafila in brevity before you sit down. This is very rewarding. This hadith was narrated by Ibn Khuzaymah. Then he said, if you get home, and it's also very rewarding when you get home after the Jum'ah. Once you get home after the Jum'ah, you should observe two rak'ah. You should observe two rak'ah. Because Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he said he saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam كان يصلي بعد الجمعة ركعتين في بيته. That he do see the Prophet observing two rak'ah once he get to the mosque after Jum'ah. Then the Prophet ﷺ also said in another hadith, من كان منكم مصليا بعد الجمعة فليصلي أربعة. Or you can also pray 4 rak'ah, because the Prophet ﷺ says, any of you who want to observe nawafil, like you want to do the sunnah nawafil after Jum'ah, then you should pray 4 rak'at. So the ulama, to avoid us being confused, the ulama have explained to us that if you want to observe this rak'ah, this nafila, immediately after Jum'ah in the mosque, then you should observe 2 rak'ah. But if you are to observe it at home, then you should observe 4 rak'at. Then, after we've talked about the rewarding stuff to do, let's talk about those that are prohibited, those that are not advisable to do at all. He said, يحرم الكلام والإمام يخطب يوم الجمعة لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا قلت لصاحبك أنصت والإمام يخطب فقد لغوت. He said, it is prohibited, it is forbidden to talk when you are when the Imam is giving sermon, and it's forbidden to talk, because the hadith says, the Prophet ﷺ said, anyone who says keep quiet, just keep quiet, or shut up, in English it's called 2-syllabic word, shut up, as short as it is. If you just say something like that, you've spoiled your Jum'ah for the day. That's to show how forbidden it is to talk when the Imam is giving sermon. Then the second law, he said, يكره تخطي الرقاب الناس إذا كان إماما أو يتخطى إلى مكان خال إلا إذا كان إماما. He said it is forbidden to separate between two people. When they said riqab bin nas, that's for instance, you want to sit down now because you are a rich man, you are having agbada, you will not shift these two sheikh and say you want to sit at the front. So stuff like this, they are forbidden, except if you are an imam. Maybe the imam is coming. You know, most of the times the people are already seated before the entrance of the imam, so it is permitted for only the imam to pass through two people because you want to give sermon. And the other time it is permitted for you to do such thing is if there is no other space in the mosque and maybe the other part outside it's rough, then you see an empty space maybe between two people, then you can just shift to enter. It is permitted then. But if there is no space, not allowed for you to push to make way between two people to sit at that place. Because why is not permitted? Because you are distracting them from the khutbah, and the khutbah is compulsory to listen to. So that's for that. The third thing that is prohibited, he said ولا يجوز أن تصلي على النبي إلا سرا في أثناء الخطبة. This one just happened now, so alhamdulillah I wrote it down. He said it's not allowed to reply salawat ala nabi. That's when the imam is making khutbah now, and he said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said you want to say sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you want to say it, but it is not advisable to say it outside, because the hadith says man qala idha qulta li sahibika ansit, if you should say keep quiet, you have spoiled your Jum'ah. So for that not to happen, for you not to spoil your Jum'ah, it is advisable you do the sallallahu alaihi wasallam silently. You do the sallallahu alaihi wasallam silently. Now, wala yajuz, you do sallallahu alaihi wasallam silently so that you won't spoil your Jum'ah. It's better you do it in your mind. Then also when the imam is doing dua, for example, the imam says رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. You want to say Ameen? No, it's not advisable to say Ameen loudly. You say Ameen, but in your heart. You won't say it out so as not to distract others. So that's just a point we need to notice. Then another part that we most of the times make mistake of, me myself I'm also guilty of it, is that the Prophet ﷺ said, don't bring, you should make ﷺ your man, sir. Don't bring tasbih or stones to the mosque. Stuff like tasbih or stones, because it will make sounds. That's to show you how forbidden it is to even talk, to make noise in the mosque at all. To show, they say don't even bring tasbih that you used to do dhikr, don't even bring it to the mosque, because it will create noise in the mosque. So it is advisable you do your dhikr in your heart and listen to the khutbah, but tasbih is allowed. So man massa al-hasa faqad lagha. The hadith says anyone who touches stones, that's during the time of Prophet they were using stones, not tasbih. So anyone who uses stones, who cants stones, faqad lagha, he has also spoiled his Jum'ah, because the process you are using to count those stones, you are making some noise there and you are distracting others. And you know, normally we are humans. If you start counting tasbih now and I've not seen the tasbih in your hand, I want to know what is making that sound. So you are distracting me from the Jum'ah indirectly. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ forbid this. Then he said لا يجوز للإمام ولا للمأموم رفع اليدين عند أثناء الدعاء. This is very common that when we are doing dua, when the imam is doing dua, you want to raise up your hand. No, you don't raise up your hand. You drop your hand. Just do the Ameen in your heart. This is the most preferable aspect, and this is not advisable to raise up your hand. Even the imam himself, the time of Prophet ﷺ, he does not raise up his hand like this when he's doing khutbah. Rather, he do like this. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً. This is how he does it. Then if you watch all those Islamic, like in most Arab countries, that's how they do their dua. When they are doing dua, they raise up their hands like this. They don't do it like this. Because of the hadith, you don't raise up your hand. It is said in Majmu' Fatawa for Ibn Uthaymeen and also for Bin Baz. These are most of the two great scholars we are having in our era now. So inshallah, Mu'adhin said this time, وَمِنْ هُنَا نَقِفْ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.